Hey everybody, welcome to Meta Episode 13. I am Artosis, joined, as almost always, by two of my Zerg nerds right here, Idra and Katz. Idra, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Last week's actually been really relaxing. We were talking about the International and WCS on. Nobody's really doing much else in esports, so I just got to sit and watch that and play a few fun games with fans and stuff.
Do you play Dota?
Nice.
I actually used to play League more, but after watching the International, I've started to play a bit of Dota. But I have absolutely no idea what's going on, so I'm just like trying to play champions and click buttons and figure out what the hell.
You gotta
They're
figure
called
out
heroes.
which champion is Protoss, man. That's
Heroes.
That's the whole key. And Katz, how about you? What did you do in this crazy esports week?
I too watched the International and some of WCS. And yeah, that's about it. It was fun.
Alright. And then
I went to watch that scary movie yesterday, actually.
Scary movie?
Yeah, what is it called? Conjuring. The Conjuring. It was pretty good.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's really good.
Were you scared?
Actually,
You liked it. I was actually scared, yeah. And there's like two characters that are really funny, and I'm not sure if they're supposed to be funny or not. So they're the best kind of funny. Like one
should-
a douchebag cop is like overly douchebaggy, and the other guy is just kind of stupid. And
you should go see a scary movie with In Control sometime. He laughs like as hard as he can through like all of the tension building moments. Because like you know it's coming and you feel it, and his way of dealing with that is just laughing his ass off.
That is the weakest defense mechanism I've ever heard. Actually, I would be angry. I'd be like, get the fuck out of this theater. What are you? I paid $7
It's
for
Jeff.
this ticket.
It's Jeff though. I don't know. It works.
Well,
it's
he
funny.
would have a
it adds to
reason
the
to laugh at this
experience.
Like he would have a reason to laugh at the characters, but it was actually a really good movie. So I don't know. It's a really weird movie.
I hate that though. Like if I go to a scary movie, it's to be scared. It's like if you want to protect yourself, what I do is I grab Tassus's arm and like kind of sit behind it. I'm like, ah! like that.
Yeah.
But
I would pinch minigun a lot.
okay.
I don't know
I don't know
why I
how
would
that
pinch
helps,
it.
but if you say so.
Does he jump when you pinch him? If you like time it with a scary part?
No, he would just say stop pinching me.
Well, that's seems reasonable. Okay, so also in addition to these guys, we have a new guest on Meta this week, and it is none other than EG's new recruit, Xenocider. Xenocider, how are you doing?
So for the past week, I procrastinated my entire summer homework till like the last day, so I wasn't able to actually catch much of the International, but I heard it was pretty good. So yeah. Oh, and also school starts in like 6 hours from now, or 7 hours. Yeah, no,
What time is it there? Oh my god, yeah, I guess it's nighttime in America, right?
yeah.
So we do this around my schedule. This is like, it's noon, I'm like, alright, you know, I've had my breakfast, I'm just sipping a cup of coffee, talking to my friends about some StarCraft. But you had summer homework?
Yeah.
I remember they used to try to assign that to me. Did you do it or not do it?
Oh, I did. I'm of the Asian descent, and I cannot
see,
do it.
you should have been born like me, not that, and I never did my summer homework, and it worked out great. So, anyways, let's get into some of our topics here today. First off, I really want to go over the proposed balance changes, and this is like something that basically it's nothing 100% yet. Here, I'll link you guys there, and I'll link the chat as well. But this is like something that, you know, the balance maps that Blizzard puts out for people just to kind of start messing around with some ideas that they're having. These are the ideas that are on that map, and just to go over them really quick, an Overseer speed buff after the upgrade, and then combine Mech ground and air upgrades. As we all know, the armor upgrade is already combined, but I guess they're thinking about doing the attack upgrade as well. And then Vipers starting with full energy. So, and I heard another one that I don't think I see written here, but I heard, who was I talking to? Anyway, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said that they were thinking of making it so that the Blinding Cloud will make the Widow Mine range reduced as well. So instead of being a spell, it'll be like an attack in a certain regard. It kind of makes sense. I mean, anyways, let's... Huh?
Do you know if they changed the function of the Blinding Cloud, or if they changed the definition of it from a spell to an attack? Because that'd actually be a pretty big difference.
I think that it's still a spell, but they changed.
It's just an
like,
exception.
Technically, how that one works. I'm pretty sure. I forget who I was talking to last night, but
That one
yeah,
would actually
that's-
be. I think that one would actually have much more of an impact than any of the 3 proposed ones. Well, except for combining the upgrades might be pretty big for Mech TVZ on turtle maps. But the Overseer speed thing, like the problem isn't the fact that you can't see Widow Mines. Usually, it's the fact that like if there are enough of them with enough bio support, you're not going to be efficient fighting them anyway. It's just it doesn't work. And Viper starting out with full energy just means they'll get feedback right away. And then ZVT, it helps.
Are you serious?
Oh my god, only you could take a Zerg buff and say it's a nerf. Oh my god, this is outlandish. You've outdone yourself this time.
Well, it could make the Roach Hydra Viper timing a little bit stronger, but I think making the Viper stronger just kind of encourages the turtley stag defense play because.
Listen, Greg, if you just don't want the energy, you can just blinding cloud before you move
Yeah,
out.
that's true.
Right, just double
No,
blinding cloud.
that one's obviously a pretty significant buff. Although I think the blinding cloud against Widowmine thing would be much bigger for ZVT in particular, unless of course Mech takes back over. They're okay. I don't know if it's really going to address the problem with CVP. I really feel like Viper timings, even in their current state, are very strong if Protoss moves out. But if Protoss recognizes that you're just rushing for like that 14, 15-minute max Roach Hydra Viper attack, they sit behind a building wall, they planetary nexus, and they wait for Templar. And it doesn't really change that. And ZVP, statistically, and I think in the opinion of most players, has been the bigger problem than ZVT. So I don't know how this actually addresses that.
I shall disagree. I think the Viper change would actually make Zerg 2 good against Protoss in those
You think so?
those situations. Yeah,
You know-
I think the Viper Hydra Roach timings are really strong. Like
Your
like
voice
right
is
now.
actually going really low, Cats. Like, can maybe bring your mic closer to your face or something? I don't know.
Yes. Is that better?
Thank you.
My microphone goes crazy sometimes.
I think you need to fix Skype settings or something. Alright, we'll give Cats 1 second here to fix that, but
Okay, so I actually, and apologies to Artosis, but I actually think that we should just remove Mech from StarCraft 2 because like for the
is that what you
past
think, Xenocider?
like ever, Mech has just been like not what it was in Brood War. It's just like you turtle, and then you get like some ravens, and then like they can't ever attack into you, and then you have like one huge super army. So it doesn't really have any strategical play or anything. I actually just don't like Mech in StarCraft 2. I never watched Brood War because I was basically a fetus when it was popular, but yeah, I'm not too sure about Mech. Actually, Mech in StarCraft 2, like, it's kind of like Protoss, except like with less options for attack. Like, there's no war prisms.
It's like Protoss with an immobile army.
Yeah, sure.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think my Mech can recall back to my CCs, but
You can bring your CCs with
Don't
you.
say things like that. Every once in a while, Blizzard watches these shows, and then it'd be like the Raising Lowering Supply Depot. All of a sudden, he just pops up in the game.
I mean, I think the game actually, Xenocider, would be worse if we took out like a third of the Terran units. I mean, I don't think there's much argument for that. Like, let's just take out the factory units. Like, well,
Never allow you to build more than 3 factories in the game.
and actually for TVZ, I'm not like like Idra said, I don't actually think the Overseer speed buff helps anything. The way they justified it in the thread, they basically said that the Overseer like lags behind during engagements or something, so like you can't clean it up, or I'm not really sure what they're trying to say, but if they're gonna nerf Terran or something, I don't think the Overseer is the way to go specifically.
Yeah, it's just basically
Hello? Don't hear you at all.
It got worse.
GG.
Oh, that was
there
fine.
you are.
What?
There
That's
you
good.
are.
Works now?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. Wait, there you went again. What is going on with your PC, Cats? This is really weird.
I guess so.
Oh, there you go.
No.
I don't know what's going on with that. Oh man, Simon, if you could like help him run through some diagnosis of that. I don't know what's going on. Katz has a lot of people in his... Oh, there his voice was.
It works for a second or two and then goes back out
Yeah,
every
that's
time.
weird. Plug a different one.
I can hear him saying, "Give him a headset." What?
Yeah, I know, right? This is really weird. I think Katz is playing a prank on us. Okay, so wait a minute. There's actually so much to talk about right now with everything you two have said. I'm like, eh. But hold on, Katz is gonna replug in. Okay, so where do I even start with it? This is so. First off, I do want to point out one thing, Greg, that actually I just thought of with the lagging behind of the overseers. I remember when they nerfed infestor speed, you said that was almost a buff because infestors so often run ahead of your whole army while your army's attacking, and then you lose them. I don't think that applies here, but could it
actually
apply here?
That was
No,
a 10.
actually, that is true. That's true.
I think that could actually be a problem. I was being a little bit, like, just a tiny bit facetious when I said that about infestors, but in this case, given that they're air units and you usually have them hotkeyed with your mutas, I could actually see that happening a lot. You're going to have to babysit them much, much more. Like, it's never a problem. I never, in a mid-late game ZVT battle, I never lose because I can't see mines. I can always see the mines, I just die to them anyway because they're so fucking strong. Like, and so if the overlords are always already there, and if you're not careful about it, then they're definitely going to fly into the army and die.
So basically, the thing is, like, you actually don't want your overseer at the head of the army because, like, you already know the widow mines are going to be there. You just kind of split, like, and then you have your overseers in the back. So, like, after like the widow mines have gone off, you can clean them up. But if the overseer is in the front, then if the Terran focuses down the overseer, then afterwards there won't be anything to actually kill the widow mine. Is what I'm thinking is going to happen.
Okay.
But
so you're going to start having some of the problems that Protoss has every game, which is having no detection after the battle.
just
If you're not careful about it.
Make 7 observers. That's what I was thinking, right?
Yeah.
And make 10 cannons. Totally.
I get like a second robo, really, like after my 3rd gate, just to make sure I have enough observers. I get it. It's a perfect idea. Okay, so it could be a little bit of an issue with that, but I mean, do you like overall the overseer buff, Greg? Like, is this something that you're like, okay, this is nice? Because it looks like it's something that just when you upgrade speed for overlord / overseer, the overseer just gets even faster.
I mean, it's a buff. You're not really going to complain about that. You will have to babysit them a little bit more during battles, but that's not the biggest deal. But I don't think it's really going to change much of anything. If it were like an early game thing, then of course, you know, it improves scouting and whatnot. But now it's just going to be a speed buff when no one really has problems getting overseers into position anyway.
You know, I think that it might get that speed upgraded against Protoss more often. Because normally when an overseer comes in your base, you kill it off pretty easily. But if it has that speed upgrade, I think that... oh, there you go. Hi.
Yep.
Perfect, Cats. Minigun is the man.
Okay. Hello.
No.
Hey, Cats. Welcome back.
Okay.
So, start to tell us your thoughts on this.
Are we going back in time now? Because I didn't hear shit.
We're going back in time. I want to hear everything you have to say.
Okay. So I think the Viper change is too good for Zerg. I think the Viper timings are already really strong, and usually, like, if like, say if the Protoss opens aggressively and you shut it down, if you go for a Viper timing, it's already really hard for them to choose if they want to have, like, High Templars and really low unit count, or, you know, no High Templars and a bigger army that's probably still going to take heavy damage from Vipers. So if you speed that up by like 50 seconds, which is what it takes to consume, even more, because the Viper has to go to whichever building you want to actually consume, and you know, and shift like that shit. So I just think 50 seconds or a minute is a little bit too much of a push for that. And yeah, Vipers are pretty useful throughout the entire game too.
Yeah.
So I think it would be too good for Zerg against Protoss.
I think the early Viper timings are really the ones that are going to be affected by this. You know, there are quite a few games that you can watch of, like, a Korean Protoss hitting a timing, and then the Vipers are popping out, and they have to charge, like, during the battle, and it kind of slows it down. So it would certainly help out in that. Like later game, I don't think it matters quite as much. Like maybe just when you're refilling a max or something, but you know, you shouldn't really be losing that many Vipers anyways. But
Yeah. Yeah, that too. Like you can actually like rally your Vipers to the battle right away, and know that they'll have like a bunch of energy when they get there. So, I don't know. I really think that the Viper change isn't necessary, and then it buffs Zerg against Mech as well, which is kind of stupid because they're trying to buff Mech.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Seems kind of pointless.
Against
The Overseer thing, I think it's not bad, because the Overseer, like what they said is true. I don't think it'll like change anything too much, but I think it will help a tiny bit, and there's no reason for like not doing it. You can scout better probably, and then also like the thing they said is that the Overseers lag behind, and then they can pick them off on the way back, so then you have to remake them all the time.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, like you know, after an engagement, they lag behind and they just get picked off. So I think that'll be nice.
That is true, actually. Every time a Zerg runs for me, I kill every Overseer. Like,
well, if you lose ZVT specifically, if you lose a fight, unless it's like a situation where you're already quite ahead, you're usually not coming back from that. Like Terran tends to snowball if they win a fight.
Well, yeah, that's if you're fighting in the middle of the map or on your side. But say you attack them, and then you know they're way out, pushing you out. And
It's not a bad thing, certainly. I just don't think it really addresses more core problems. And that's kind of my problem with the Viper change CVP too, because the biggest thing that changes, I really feel, is the ROOTCatz Viper timings, and that's a period of the game where Zerg is already relatively strong, like that mid game. If you're playing a Lairtech heavy army, that's kind of where you dominate, where you keep Protoss stuck on 3 bases, and like that's your time in the game. Whereas early game is mostly Protoss 2 base all-ins and recall pokes, and some people say that is too strong, or that's where they're powerful. And then it gets to late game where you either have Swarmhost Turtle, which, strong or not, everyone dislikes, and Protoss Death Ball, which, strong or not, most people don't really like. And I don't think the Viper change really affects either end of that. It makes them a little bit better later on, just because, you know, you don't have to spend the extra time and the extra multitasking to charge them up. But it's not really going to be a significant change to playstyle or balance outside of the mid game, I think. And I think that's what needs least focus.
yeah, maybe you're right.
It's fair points, but I do have to just interject for one moment. Did you actually mean it when you said they're just going to get feedback easier?
Of course not. Of course
okay. I'm like...
People take me too seriously.
Oh, come on.
Well, I know you. I know
because
you.
I was uncertain. Because when the Infestor got buffed, you said it wasn't because the Infestor was supposed to hold units in place. I was like, it will kill them instead.
All right. But I think the Viper change is because I don't think Vipers are used enough for how good they can actually be, because they actually do take, like, you have to actually get pretty good with a Viper. Like, I've seen some Zergs that I think are very good with Vipers, and, like, they look where the High Templars are, and there's that dance, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's the dance that you see, like, in PvT, let's say, where there's Ghosts, Vikings, and then Colossus, High Templar on the other side, and you're kind of like, both are kind of doing the little swaying, moving from side to side, trying to get position. And some Zergs don't really do that as much with Vipers yet. I think Viper Micro has a ways to come still. So I think this is kind of like some of the old War Prism buffs, where they're like, let's just make this better, get everyone using it, and see what that changes about the matchup.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The High Templars basically have to be in front of the Protoss army in order to like feedback, because they have the same range, and they pretty much both cast instantly. So, yeah, a lot of Zergs just like kind of run their Vipers in and abduct everything they can. But if there's High Templars, you don't want to do that. I think you're relying on the Protoss fucking up. So, yeah, you gotta clean the High Templars that will be on the front first, and then do it. Or cast Blinding Cloud instead.
So if you want to give the Vipers more energy, but you don't want to make the initial timing more powerful, could you like make the rate at which they absorb the energy faster?
Yeah.
Would that make it too good though? Like if that could be like, if you make it too much faster, right? And you have like, let's say 5-6 Vipers in your army, and you do that thing that like Hyun does, where you just bring a bunch of Spore Crawlers with you. You could just like have endless spell cast, right? Like there would be no reset time where someone can catch their breath.
Well, I mean, you can calibrate it with how quick the rate actually is.
Well, What about TVZ for this? Because let's say that they want to do the mine change as well, where Blinding Cloud suddenly works on mines and makes it like a melee under a Blinding Cloud. What does this do to, first off, Vipers in the matchup, and what does having the extra energy to start with do to that? What do you guys think?
Well, the change to Widow Mines is pretty huge because a combination of Ultra Infestor and that, or not Ultra Infestor, but like Infestors and Vipers, and then ground units, Ultraling, Baneling, whatever, Ultraling, Baneling ideally, is already really, really strong because, I mean, you catch Bio and you Fungal Bio under a couple of Blinding Clouds and it just gets obliterated by that composition. And if you take out Widow Mines, or limit Widow Mines with that as well, I mean, it obviously already nullifies tanks. You get rid of Widow Mines, that composition, if controlled well, just becomes pretty much unfightable unless Terran gets like the super late game mech heavy army. But then the new Viper also prevents, well, not necessarily prevents, but it makes mech much, much worse because those timings, if anything happens early on, Terran is sitting there with like 5 tanks and some Widow Mines and some support units there just holding on and surviving. And if you have 2 free abducts on every Viper at the 14-15 minute mark, I don't know if mech really works anymore. So I think that those 2 changes together, I think, might actually be too much against Terran.
Wait, did Mech work before? Like, I don't actually ever see Mech.
On some maps, if you really, really turtle, I think it can.
I'm just thinking about that Ghost User versus Lucifron game.
Well, Lucifron played like that like a fucking idiot. Like he didn't push whenever he had any opportunity. He never moved out at all. He didn't nuke. He didn't really do anything. He still could have gotten a draw at the end, but I don't know. He just wasn't thinking while he played that game. He just fucking sat there and tried to not die for as long as possible.
It's oftentimes a good strat. That's what I do with Protoss all the time.
Yeah, well,
It doesn't work so well against free units, though.
That's true.
yeah, but like, yeah, I think it's getting there. That shouldn't happen for the Circ player because like once you get there, it's you shouldn't lose against anything. I think, but getting there is so hard. So, yeah, I think it was Lucifron's fault there. And yeah, I think Mech can be viable, and there's a few timings that work well. Ever since they have nerfed Hellbats, what? Yeah, have you played Scarab? Yeah, like
Hellbat tank.
If yeah, I think that's really powerful. If they like scout no spire.
Against Spire, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, typically you open like Spire into roaches, right? Versus Mech, or
well, you can always scout. So yeah, a lot of people do. Not everyone. If you scout Mech right away, you might skip this Spire. But yeah, I don't know if the Viper would actually change that much against the Widow Mines, just because they shouldn't be clumping their Widow Mines anyways. So, you know, one Blinding Cloud against the Widow Mine, and usually it's so fast paced in CVT, like it's usually Mutiling Baneling against Biomine for a little while. And just getting to the Vipers, sure, you need the Hive to get to 3-3 and maybe Ultras, but the Vipers will be additional gas, and I'm just not sure if like they're worth trying to go after the Widow Mines. Like getting Blinding Cloud and Vipers for Widow Mines seems, you know, Widow Mines are really cheap, and if they're spraying them, then that negates the effect. Plus Vipers are so weak anyways that they can get picked off really easily. I think the worst Terran, if they were to do that, like if, you know, if everyone controlled everything perfect, then they could just have like 3 or 4 Vikings hanging around with their bio, and that'll be fine.
Yeah, like, let's say both those changes go through. Cats and Idra, do you guys actually make any Vipers as you hit Hive? Against a regular Biomine?
I don't think you make them as you get Hive. What usually happens, CVT, if the game has gone well for you as Zerg, is your Mutiling Baneling is winning fights. You have 4 to 5 bases secured. Then you get up to Ultra and you start mixing in Infestors. And then at that point, Terran can't really attack into you. So they sit on 4 bases, put up Planetaries, and sit behind Widow Mines. I think if Vipers were effective against Widow Mines, what happens there is you add in 4 or 5 Vipers, and that actually gives you the ability to break the Terran Turtle instead of just waiting for them to drop you to death.
And how would Blinding Cloud work on a Widow Mine for a moment? Is it only going to be able to lock onto things that are one range, or is it only going to be able to shoot the missile one range? I'm a little bit confused about that too, because that would really change it.
It can't just lock onto one range because like its channeling time is too. The channeling time is too long, unless it could like then fire more than one. Like it acquires at one range, but then fires.
Because otherwise it just would never shoot.
Because if it's truly blinding, then the Widow Mine, yeah, would
never
lock
shoot
onto any
unless
unit.
you stood
yeah.
on top of them.
Yeah.
So it would actually completely.
Well, it
I'm
depends
not
on
sure
how they.
exactly how that's supposed to work.
It depends on how they implement it. They might. Yeah, I don't know. They might just do it acquires targets in one range and then shoots them no matter how far away they are, or it acquires at one range and then just shoots one range and like whatever's in the radius gets hit. I have no idea.
I guess it could be something like that. Yeah.
I have no idea what they would do with it. It would be awkward.
Awkward.
Yeah. Awkward. All right. Enough about that. Let's talk about the combining mech, ground, and air upgrades. Because to be honest, Xenocider, I know that you want to see mech go away and there only be like 3 units for Terran, but I did like when they combined the armor between the air and ground. I felt like that was actually like at least somewhat helpful, right? You could like back when Hellbats were being used a lot, and even with your Widow Mines, getting that armor upgrade, it like helps your Vikings later. I don't know, it's weird, but I liked that they did it because it's like too many different upgrades that you would expect a Terran to get.
Making the weapons thing, I actually don't see how it could be useful for non-mech. But I'm also trying to see how it would be useful for mech. Like if we made air upgrades faster, then that would mean that the transition to air after the mech phase is over would be faster and probably more effective. But right now, I feel like if you're going like mech versus Zerg, you're going to be going primarily Ravens for a long period of time, and then eventually into battle cruisers. But most games don't go that long. But as far as the mech upgrades go, I think the armor is crucial in TVC because you need it for your Widow Mines and your medevacs. But in TVP, you have to get weapons for your Vikings to kill the Colossus. And then, like, it's not like you ever really transition into Hellbats anymore, so...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, what about TVT then? Because when you go mech in TVT, you know, your ideal army is going to have both flying units and ground units. Like, is this going to push out bioplay a little bit more?
Actually, I'm gonna say that this is a buff to bio versus mech. Basically, what happens is, when you play bio versus mech in TVT, you get your bio and you get like 1 or 2 tanks, and then you transition straight into air. So, if you can get like the +3 attack straight off, then you're in a really good position because you basically go straight into battle cruisers and try to catch them off guard. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really help mech all that much.
But it does make the mech transition into Sky Terran a little bit easier.
Yeah,
too.
a little bit easier.
Well, because isn't like you're going mech, and then when they try and do the BC transition, don't you go Vikings to counter it? So then you have the upgrades from your mech for the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah. It matters how quickly you end up scouting it. Sometimes you just go attack them, and sometimes you switch into Sky Terran yourself, I guess. So, I don't know. I think it's probably going to help out mech a little bit.
Yeah.
If I was a Terran player trying to go mech against bio, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I can actually, if he starts to make too many siege tanks, I can switch over, and I'm going to have like that additional 1 to 2 upgrades that he's not going to have, which is really nice. All right.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know. It's all weird. I think, at least for
is there any
TVC,
reason not
it's
to do it though?
The Viper is much better. Would be a much better change than the help to mech. So mech would be even more uncommon, I think.
Mech traditionally
TVC seems like it's whatever. What?
Mech traditionally gets really late upgrades anyways. Like Terran or like the bio and the mech will basically have the same upgrade progression in terms of mech. Actually, it's kind of weird.
Alright, well, I think that's all the different balance changes. Let's say that all this stuff just went in a patch today. Good or bad?
Bad.
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 Yeah, I'd say bad.
Bad. Even the Zerg player's saying bad, and it's mostly Zerg, so... Is it surprising that there is no Protoss change offered? With how we see Protoss is kind of starting to flood some of these leagues a little bit more?
Yeah, I
Protoss
really
is doing extremely well. So
I really would have expected a mothership core change. I think that would have been top of my list.
Well, in TVP, I think Terrans are starting to circumvent the mothership core basically by just opening 3CC. Like, if you watched Maru play versus Rain in the finals, for like the last 4 games, he opened like 3cc. And in reality, for TVP, you actually can't punish 3cc. Like, I think one game, Mario went like 3cc, double eBay at like 7 minutes, and then Rain went for like the fastest possible Immortal All-In, and he still couldn't kill it. So I think, if anything, having the Mothership core in there just means that Terran won't attack early, and it'll just resolve, or yeah, it'll resolve in games lasting really long times and boring openers. But that's about it.
Well, you know, I felt like Mario had to play against that, especially against Rain, because he's such a defensive player. And to be honest, that Immortal push for me was kind of a half-assed. I scouted you, and I'm like, oh shit, I have to do an Immortal push now, type of push. You know what I mean? So,
well, I mean, if you look at just like how Terran players have been playing recently, like Bomber, Supernova. Well, Supernova usually opens 5 racks, but mainly Bomber, Innovation, and Mario. Basically, all Terrans are starting to go 3cc, like Poltasia. I mean, it's just too good not to go 3cc, basically. Like, I can't actually think of any all-in that beats 3cc at this point. Like, and CC first is becoming unpunishable too, as Terrans start to figure out proxy oracles and Blink expands. So yeah,
we're gonna have to start proxy gating more often, man.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything wrong with that, really? Because this is something that we've gone over a lot on the show, and Idra's actually been really vocal about. It's okay to have, like, an opening that you basically always open with, and then let it, you know, the first several minutes of the game, just let that always be the same. Because, I mean, is that a problem, do you think, Xenocider, that, like, TVP might turn into always 3 command? But, because, well, TVZ has a few other ones, but there's a lot of 3 command there as well.
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a problem, but the thing is that we're basically going straight back into the Wings of Liberty meta, except like medevacs move a little bit faster at points. I mean, like some of the builds are actually Wings of Liberty builds at this point. It's getting kind of redundant, but yeah, I don't know. The thing is, in Terran vs Protoss, it's just like, it's all about the dancing, right? Like, you don't actually do Brood War style engages at like 5 different places. It's pretty much like one guy's a max army and the other guy's a max army. Like, do you really want to watch a game where the guy opens up with like a no rush 15 and then after that, like, basically doesn't engage, and then there's one engage, the engage ends really quickly, and the winner of that basically wins the game? Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem too entertaining for people to watch, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, on principle, I'm fine with initial builds being the same, but the problem is when those builds pretty much necessitate a really, really passive macro game. But I think that's more, like, that's getting a little bit too deep into fundamental game problems, just like with the way armies work and how many workers you have to have and how expansions work and all that. So like that goes beyond just simple little balance stuff.
Well,
yeah. I mean, you could also change the map layouts too. I mean, like, historically, once a game's released, we have like these really weird maps, and then like slowly we start transitioning into like really turtley maps. I don't know if we could revisit having more obscure maps. The problem is then 2-base all-ins get like really, really strong. So like
the existence of Protoss really, really restricts us in terms of map design and force field in particular.
Yeah, that is quite true. It's so easy to get a map that Protoss is like, well, here's the 2 strategies I can use here.
Yeah.
Well, what about this? Okay, because what you're saying about that, I think one way that Blizzard's been going about trying to make sure that this doesn't happen is buffing harassment options, such as the Warp Prism, to be like, all right, let's get more scuffling going on. I think that's helped. I think we definitely see more Warp Prism play. I know that, you know, Colossus, Blink Stalker has kind of turned off a lot of that Warp Prism play because you have to spend all your minerals at home, but we do see a bit more. Is that how it gets fixed? Because I still feel like even though the deathball play is very common and we see it a lot, I think that the better players that can utilize harassment options and the smaller scuffles to gain advantages throughout the game are going to beat the deathball players. It's just there's not as many that can do it that well because defense is kind of easy.
I think the bigger problem is that defense is easy. It all kind of boils down to the fact that you can get a really, really strong army and then build up enough bank for another really strong army off of like 3 bases max. And that's mostly because of the resource collection rates, I think. Like, it's not efficient to have more than 3 bases worth of workers. So why ever extend yourself so much that harassment's actually a viable like threat? And if it does get to that late game, then everyone's super turtle anyway, because one big battle, you're not gonna have time to replenish before you lose 2 bases. So you have to have the defenses to fall back on. You have to be really careful about it.
Yeah.
So yes, harassment is good, and that's what they should be aiming for. It's just I think it's going to have to be buffed to a ridiculous amount, like make drop based play and harassment based play just absurdly good to actually make it worthwhile, given all the other restrictions the game puts on it.
So, just a theory craft throwing this out there, like, to do that, could it be something like nerfing some static defense, like making cannons and turrets and stuff worse so that it's really hard to punish as well? Or something, like, how would we go about doing that?
That's another option, although it seems to be like kind of the opposite of what they've been aiming for with, Planetary Nexus and all of the building buffs and all that have always been around for Terran, but then adding in the Mothership Core both with Recall and Planetary Nexus. And I don't know. It's
actually called Nexus Cannon. We don't get splash damage and we can't repair it. You cannot.
Nah,
fucking
it's called Planetary
Nexus.
Nexus. It's too fucking funny.
You can't do it. No.
Okay.
But yeah.
So
buffing sag. Go ahead.
the thing is, like a couple of years ago, everyone was complaining about the exact opposite. So it's just kind of weird to me.
It's a very good point.
Yeah, I mean, like players are getting better and getting better at defending stuff. So I think balance should be the main concern. And then as the meta, as people start thinking that they can get away with other stuff that they shouldn't be able to, like Xenocider was saying that you can always 3CC, but I'm sure that's not the case. Like I'm sure if someone knows that you're going 3CC, they can easily punish it. And that's how the meta changes all the time. So I really don't mind that games start getting a little bit more stable and maybe less cheesy, except for maybe CVP. I think it's still exciting, and like you were saying, Dan, I think that the player that has the multitasking to harass and create themselves opportunities usually do end up ahead, like with little things,
Yeah. I don't think there's actually something wrong. I like to talk about it though.
The War Prism thing though, in TVP, basically if you commit to a War Prism too early, then you're really vulnerable to counterattacks, and if you commit to it too late, then most likely a good Terran player will have enough turrets to basically prevent it from happening. And the thing is, I actually basically the Protoss scout is completely based on the observer. So what you see Koreans doing is they literally keep like a marine perimeter around their base, and they just completely deny. So you don't know if they're going 3CC or 5 racks. I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And that's really just based on like the unreliability of Protoss scouting, which is why 3CC is like consistently good. Because like, I mean, unless you just get lucky, you're not going to be able to see it consistently.
What about Hallucinated Phoenix?
I mean, you can do the same thing.
People aren't getting sentries that early, but that could actually rotate in if this actually becomes an issue where every Terran is stopping every observer. Because that's a big... When your first observer gets scanned, you're like, oh shit, I have no idea what's going on, this is terrible. But we could see Protoss like open up with like an early sentry. It's, sentry kills a Reaper now, or doesn't die to a Reaper, I guess is the more accurate term. Because you can't kill a Reaper with a sentry, that's never going to occur. But... we could see it turn into that to try to scout that. So I'm not too afraid of that happening. There you go. You're not pussy anymore.
Okay. Alright, but I don't know. The problem is like Terran can literally hold every single all-in with 3 bunkers in TVP. Is what I'm thinking. Like, if you I guess you have to really play it to find out, but it was like the exact same in Wings of Liberty, and Protoss really hasn't had any additional options for aggression. Like, legitimately, anything that you can scout, you put down 3 bunkers, and then you repair and you hold it. Like, it doesn't matter. As long as you have enough units to fill up those bunkers. Like,
I thought Immortal All-Ins were kind of making a comeback amongst Korean PvT.
They are. Actually, there's a lot of Immortal All-Ins right now.
Right.
And I've definitely seen them bust more than 3 bunkers.
Well, I think the clear answer is that bunker build time needs to go up 10 seconds.
So, Xenocider, do you actually think that PvT favors Protoss? Or Terran, sorry?
Right now, since the metagame is shifting right now, I think it's too early to tell, but as I'm looking at it, I think Terran's getting the better end of it. Yeah.
I like that you said that, because last week Juan was so all about Protoss being overpowered, and like a week or two before that, he was like spamming me to get you and him both on the show at the same time, because you guys had proof that Protoss was too strong. So now you think Terran might be getting the better end. So I just want to throw that out there.
Just in light of recent events, before it was interesting to play aggressive builds versus Mothership Core. It was not fun.
Well, I think that like you can't take GSL finals and say that's what it is, because Rain is a really passive player and Maru clearly abused it.
No, I mean, like, if you study Terran right now, like, all the bots, that's basically what every Terran is doing at this point. Like, in WCS America, Innovation's point of view replays at WCG qualifier, like, I'm so ghetto when I want to watch Innovation play, so I'm looking at the Caldor video of him, like, his keyboard, and I'm looking at the screen instead to study bots, and yeah, I mean, Korean Terran, the 3CC is just a metagame right now.
Okay. I
That
mean,
makes sense.
last I checked, maybe it changed, but it was at like 11 Protoss in the top 16 of the Korea ladder right now. And it was like 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th.
Yeah, there's no Terrans in the top 16 Korean GM, actually.
Hold on, though. The Kespa guys are supposed to be on vacation, Juan
Yeah,
said.
they are in vacation.
So that could have something to do
I mean,
with it.
regardless, like it was the same couple weeks ago, and the Kespa Protoss are the strongest.
That is true. But you know what? I think over time the Korean GM ladder is going to be like all the good players will be there, but I think it's becoming less their main practice, and more of their main practice is probably going to be within their teams. That's what happened in StarCraft 1. Like they still practice on IC Cup, like their Flash had an account and played a lot of games, but they aren't necessarily always showing all their best stuff.
Well, knowing Kespa teams, it's probably already like that for them. It was always the ESF teams that were very ladder heavy. But Kespa, I don't see them switching from what they were in Brood War. And in Brood War, you didn't play a serious game against someone else unless it was your friend pro gamer who you could absolutely trust from another team.
Yeah, I can actually confirm that because I have like basically recorded the barcodes of specific Kespa Terrans like Flash. And Innovation is easy because Innovation isn't a barcode. But yeah, Innovation used to practice exclusively on ladder, and that's actually how he won like the first Season 1 finals. But basically, Flash has completely stopped playing ladder in the past 4 months, like not a single game. And Innovation plays like once every week, and then he 11-11 raxes, and that's about it.
Well, that kind of... The thing is, they might play a little bit, too, because I remember in StarCraft 1, there were like team accounts that were just like super high on IC Cup that anyone would jump on, and it would be like, you don't know who the hell you're playing, you know, you just know that this account is owned by CJ Entis or something like that. Kind of interesting how that goes.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the game is still changing enough that not taking advantage of the ladder is kind of silly. Like I don't think that 10 people in a house, there's gonna be enough diversity to actually cover every basis that they need to cover. Like Brood War was a lot easier to do that. I don't think that's the case here.
Yeah, actually, Innovation doesn't practice with his teammate for Zerg. He practices with other teams.
Well, isn't the best Zerg on his team Haiva?
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm just throwing that out there too.
But Haiva's a god, man. Oh my god. If I was a Zerg, that's how would I play. Like the sickest play style.
I have no doubt. Alright, let's jump to a real quick commercial break, and then we will be back, talk some about WCS season finals, and maybe some of this other gameplay stuff and whatnot. So guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Pros always want to have gear that's exactly fitted to their needs.
Something I've always dreamed about doing is using my experience as a gamer to make gear for people like me.
We're working with TT Esports to make the exact mouse, keyboard, and headset that we've always wanted to use.
When you're doing anything that you love to do, the tools that you're using matter the most.
We're designing these products from scratch to make sure that your gaming experience is completely seamless. The gear I use to play the game
are the tools I use to win.
Guys, welcome back to part 2 of Meta. It's been some really fun convos so far, and now it's time to go ahead and talk about the WCS Season 2 finals groups. I'm going to go ahead and post that in the chat for everyone to take a look at. And of course, we have that all up. So let's go ahead and take a look-see, because this is a pretty damn stacked tournament with not a lot of Zergs in it. So.
Your talk about sounded like Taco Bell. That's funny.
Do I look like a monkey too, Cats? You're
Got me
rather nitpicky. So let's just take a look at it. First off, any group jump out at you guys as like the group of death?
Group
Yes.
E?
B?
Okay.
I remember it was 2.
E? Maybe?
E?
E?
There's no E.
There's no
No.
group
A.
E.
No, B for
E.
banana.
I think C and D are the strongest.
All right. So wait, you said wait. So Xenocider says B. Cat says C and D. What did you say, Greg?
Probably B or C. Not D, I don't think. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
They're
I
all
don't know.
pretty-
These are all actually.
They're actually all pretty strong, but I'd say B or C.
We can all agree that Group A is not the group of death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for Jade,
Okay, so we're getting somewhere at least. Okay, so wait, who said Group B? Was this Xenocider?
Yeah.
Okay, why Group B? Why is that the hardest group here?
Well, it has Polt, Bomber, and First. And while Group C does have innovation, I feel like Polt, Bomber, and First all play on pretty good, like really good level. Grubby's also very good too, but Polt, Bomber, and First stand out to me. And I think they play it either equal to or better than Duck, Tasia, and Naniwa.
Okay, I think that's actually pretty fair. All right,
Yeah.
and what were you gonna say, Greg?
I don't know. I said between those two, like Naniwa and Grubby are pretty close to each other in my mind. Grubby's a little bit more like solid, straight up, but Naniwa is more likely to take you out with something weird. And then amongst the rest of them, Innovation's obviously a little bit better than everyone else, but I'd say Polt, Bomber First compared to Tasia, Duck. I don't know. They're all very equivalent players. I think that's all around the same level.
True.
I think it's pretty close. How about you, Cats? What are you thinking?
I mean, Duck did win WCS Europe, so I'm sure he's pretty good. I think Naniwa is a really strong player as well. And Innovation and Tasia are obviously really strong. I don't know that Bomber had a really good run at I don't know. I don't know if I see him as a really consistent player. And First is really good sometimes, but some other times he doesn't seem that good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
True.
And I don't know. Polt is also on the same boat for me. But he's been pretty consistent as of late. Like he won MLG and he won WCS America, I guess. But he still loses, to lesser players all the time, like in smaller tournaments and stuff like that.
In fact,
So-
Grubby took out Polt in DreamHack like 2 DreamHacks ago, I think.
That's quite a
Pretty
while.
Yeah, I guess that was.
And that was,
Right.
I remember hearing that was the tournament where Polt did really poorly, and I think he had like exams or something around the
he had
time.
school, he had school.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do want to say something about Polt's playstyle is like generally when I play against or when I watch Polt, he plays like on another level of smartness. Like everything that he does is just like, wow, this guy probably went to Seoul National University. Like his mechanics,
I did.
yeah, his mechanics are not as good as like probably the other top tier Koreans, but I think that he just thinks on another level. Like some people, sometimes when I watch Innovation, it's kind of like he just makes more units and micros better. But when I watch Polt, like this is also the reason why he'll lose to like lower level players than him, is because he relies mainly on like outthinking his opponent.
I think that is actually pretty fair. Like, I watched most all of WCS NA round of 8 forward and stuff, and Polt actually, for me, like, some of the time, like, for instance, game 3 against Oz, he like, Oz screwed up with the Mothership Core early, and Polt literally did not allow him to come back from there. He was just like, nope, you're gonna lose now, and then he just, like, every move he made was based off the fact that Oz screwed up with the Mothership Core, and he killed him from it. And I'm like, what? Like, this kid, like, you guys complain about Mothership Core being too strong, but Oz had nothing to stop this. This is crazy. So, He's pretty damn smart.
He's also really uncomfortable to play against. It kind of leads into that whole thing. It's just like he always knows when to apply pressure, and that's pretty much always for him. He's one of the few Terrans who still will do heavy 2-base aggression before adding a 3rd ZC quite a bit TVZ. He just really loves to be in your face and really control the pace of the game. That's not always the best thing. Like we were just complaining earlier about how everything's all turtle death ball. But if you can make your opponent uncomfortable and control the game flow as well as he does, then it just makes it so much harder to play, like so much harder to do your own thing well while dealing with whatever he's doing.
Yeah, that's really fair. Like he will adapt really well to games. Like if he scouts like a gasless opener, he'll go and know that he can do certain things that otherwise he couldn't, and then he'll use that. He kind of plays Terran like Zerg.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I see what you're saying. He is such a great player, that's for sure. What about someone said maybe Group D. Who said that?
Me.
On you out. Who is it? You said. Okay, explain. Why could Group D possibly be considered a group of death?
Well, you
here?
took it off the screen, and my internet's not loading except for the stream. But
really? Okay. Well, it's Maru, MMA, Scarlet, Jim.
Yeah. Well, Maru's really good, obviously.
Yeah.
MMA has hiccups, but I don't know. He's a pretty solid player as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think Scarlet is just as good as any Korean, and so is Jim. So I think it's the most even group on that regard. I think that Scarlet or Jim can take out Maru or MMA any day.
I would agree with most even. I think anyone could come out of that. I think Scarlet is, maybe Jim as well, are both viable contenders for the best foreigner. And then Maru, obviously, is very good, but not the, like... It sounds weird because they beat Innovation, but when you see Innovation, you feel like he's never going to lose to someone worse than him. You don't get that feeling with Maru, or at least I don't. I feel like he can beat anyone, but he can also lose to a lot of people. So I could totally see him losing. Then MMA, he's okay, he's good, but not unbeatable by any means, especially for Scarlet and Jim. So I could see anyone winning that. It just feels like they're just not as good as the players in Groups B and C. To me.
That's a good point. Innovation, even though he doesn't win every single thing, a lot of people are like, well, stop talking about him or something. No, he's like a brick wall, and Maru just happened to build a tunnel under and put dynamite there. Like, I feel that exactly what you just said, Greg, actually.
I actually think that Scarlet's going to make it out of Group D. Maybe not in first place. I think Maru's going to be first place, and then Scarlet will be in second place. Because Jim has a really, gimmicky way of playing, especially versus Zerg. He basically does weird all-ins versus Zerg every game. And versus Terran, he relies really heavily on his Phoenix Colossus play, which Korean Terrans are starting to figure out. So I'm actually... And Scarlet has, the most ridiculous mechanics that I actually do think that she's gonna beat MMA in TVZ. So, yeah, I'm gonna have Maru Scarlet making out of Group D.
Oh, okay. Before we make predictions on all the groups and stuff, for you guys, because let's see, for foreigners we have Wellman Group A, Grubby Group B, Nanoa Group C, and then Scarlet and Jim Group D. How many foreigners are going to make it out of group stage, and which ones?
I'd say only Scarlet.
Yeah,
only Scarlet.
Only Scarlet.
I think Naniwa could. But I think you should. And Naniwa explicitly asked for you to not pick him. So.
Well, I don't think I'm going to. So. No
good.
He'll be overjoyed.
But yeah, I think Naniwa could make it out. Maybe second to Innovation, and then I want to think that Welmo can do it because he's really good at PvP and he's really underrated. I'm really happy he made it this far.
I was actually going to say that. After watching, at first. When we were casting Aces, Kaldor was hyping him up as the king of the North PvP. He took the crown from Elfie, and I thought it was all tongue-in-cheek, making fun of how bad Elfie is. But then we watched Wellmo play PvP against good people and stuff, and he is both good and cheesy and weird, which is really, really scary, especially for Korean Protosses who aren't gonna have any idea how he plays. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that Wellmo could actually beat the two Protosses there. Although I think
Jaedong too. Jaedong's worst is CVP still. So
it's his worst, but it's still Jaedong.
Yeah. I'm saying I'm saying Wellmo can beat MC and maybe Rain or Jaedong. Yeah,
that's exactly how I look at it too. Because Wellmo, his PvP, he has all the Korean builds in his pocket, and he has his own variations that he does off of them that are like really smart. Like the way he played that Derelict Watcher game in Hasselhoff's, and then he explained it. I'm like, you are a big brain in that head, man. Like, very good player. So he has like a little chance, but you guys don't think Grubby really has much of a chance in Group B?
No.
No.
The more I look about it and heard your guys' explanations, I think Group B might actually be the group of death, and this is like, I think that's a big hill for Grubby to climb there, especially playing Polt first.
I think he's playing Bomber first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought these were in the order of how they were going to play.
Yeah, he's against Bomber first.
Okay, okay. Well,
Also, Naniwa played Duck Duck in WCSEU, right? And I think he lost
yes,
there.
he did. He did, yeah.
So it might be hard for him. I'm not sure in Group
Yeah,
C.
Nanawa doesn't seem very happy with his own PvP. So that's a tough one to start out with, having a PvP. All right, so what about Jim, though? There's, like, so much hype around Jim. Like, he hit #1 GM in Korea, and, like, he's actually killed so many good players. He said in an interview he was, like, 3-1 against Innovation. He won that CPL tournament over Marine King. Well, I guess that's not the giantest thing, but, I mean, the kid is putting up some results. So, no one said that he's going to get out, though.
Oh
Yeah,
no, we didn't get to Group D.
Well, no one. Everyone kind of just said like, oh, you know, Scarlet maybe Nanoan. But
Oh, I forget. Jim's also a foreigner.
yeah,
That's racist.
I'm sorry.
is that racist?
Maybe a
A
little,
little
bit.
bit.
Okay.
Well, they play the same ladder, right? But yeah. Again, I think Group D is definitely the group of death, or not definitely, but I don't know. It's the most even group. I would think Maru will make it out, and then maybe Scarlet or Jim. I think MMA is probably the underdog of the group.
I think what Xeno said about Jim is pretty accurate. He's like very, very aggressive and build loader oriented, but he also has good mechanics, and the combination of those two on ladder just makes you absolutely great. So that's no surprise to me. And he's had tournament success, but it hasn't been the cream of the crop yet. It was WCSNA where he got what, 4th or 5th. I forget who took him out, but he didn't win the tournament. And then he beat Marine King, and it's like he beat Marine King, and I don't know. I think he has a lot of hype because he's a really young kid, and we know nothing about the Chinese scene, so that adds a little like mystique to it. And he is apparently the best coming out of the scene. I've heard that Max said it's actually better in practice, but Jim's the one who's been performing thus far. So he has all of that hype around him, and he's certainly good, but I think it's building up to be more than what he actually is.
I actually watched Jim play first person, and he does practice with I think Parting and a few other really good Koreans.
Yeah.
And when I watch him play, like his mechanics are just really good, but for some reason he just does like weird stuff all the time. And yeah, he dominates ladder, but I'm not sure how that translates. Oh, and also something to note about Jim is that he has really, really bad nerve issues offline. Both him and his manager told me about that. It's partly due to his raising, but yeah, he's really shy and really bad offline.
Okay. And that's a big leap to fly over to Germany. And Gamescom is way different than the little studio that they did WCSNA, and Gamescom is like tens of thousands of people, unbelievably loud. You know, it's definitely going to be something that if you're a nervous person, there's a lot more people watching you. That could be difficult for him then. All right. I think it's time for a few predictions from you guys. Group A. Which two come out? Greg.
Rain Jadong.
Rain Jadong? Okay.
A couple of funny games along the way, but Rain and Jadong should.
Okay. Cats?
Rain Wellmu.
Ooh. Ooh. All right. Xeno.
MC Wellmu.
Wow, crazy! Oh my god!
Oh.
Is that actually your guess?
No. I have to pick Jadong. But I'll actually say Jadong and Rain. Yeah. No upsets.
Jadong and Rain. Okay.
And what's yours, Dan?
Well, I'm looking at like the order they play in, and Rain Jaedong is first, which I think is the worst thing that could happen to Jaedong here. Because I feel like Jaedong is a really good shot at getting out because he's always solid.
Wait. I'm getting a message from my team. Please don't talk about Jaedong.
Like, all right, Jaedong's coming out of the group. And, you know, I want to go with Rain, but the thing is, it's like I think Wellmu can upset people here, and MC is so godly at lands. Like, you put MC in a European audience, like playing in these other kids that haven't been there as much. I don't know. It's a hard one to predict. That one and Group B for me are really hard, but I could see anyone coming out of there. But I mean, Rain Jaedong is not a bad bet, even though they're playing first. That's, you know, it makes it a bit harder. If Jaedong wins that, though, he's definitely coming out. All right. I'm sure the chat's going, Curse! Oh my god, I can't believe it!
Are you looking at the stream?
It's crazy!
Look at the stream. Simon's having fun again.
Jesus. Oh my. Alright, so, Group B. Idra.
That one's a lot harder. I really don't think Grubby has much of a chance. He's like good, but not the kind of good where he's likely to take these guys out. Yeah. He'll win a series against a Korean every once in a while, but against 3 really solid Korean players.
Yeah.
And smart ones too. Like, he's not going to pull anything over on these guys, except maybe first. But first is I don't really think so. I'd say first for sure. I kind of like first. Okay. I'm not really sure why. And then
he's good.
Then I'd say like 60-40 for Pult over Bomber.
I actually have to go ahead and like agree with basically exactly everything you just said. Pult Bomber's kind of close. Give the edge to Pult first. I really like his play. As long as he plays his best. And the thing is, he's the guy who like did so well at IM before, so he can play in front of a foreign crowd without any problem. I think. I'll agree with you. How about you, Katz?
Yeah, it's really hard because Pult and first play first. It would be easier if Pult played Bomber, because Bomber's so good at CVT, it seems. But yeah, I'm gonna go with first and Bomber.
Okay, that's fair enough. Xenocider. It's like only Grubby gets out. Okay, Xenocider, thanks.
Definitely Pult and Bomber, because I think first PVT really shined when Hellbats were pretty much everything, where people would open Hellbat 3cc. Like, his defense for that was basically unlike any other Protoss I've ever seen. But recently, watching him play, I haven't really been too convinced, and I've seen him Immortal All-In a lot, so I'm pretty sure Pult's gonna take it over him. And just because Pult and Bomber are playing like separately, I think they're both gonna advance.
That's pretty smart too. I could see you being right on that. It's well said. All right, Group C, reverse order. Xenocider, what do you think?
Oh well, let's see. Hold on, who's playing first? Okay, so definitely Innovation and Duck. All right, because Duck plays so weird, so he's gonna take it over everybody else.
Okay. Katz?
I'm gonna say Innovation and Naniwa.
Ooh. Okay.
Easy.
I don't know if that's easy, but I hope. Idra.
Innovation for sure. And if Tasia didn't play Innovation first, I'd say Innovation and Tasia. But given this, I think it's still actually pretty close between the other 3. Because Naniwan's PvP is not the best, but his PvT, I think, has almost always been his strongest and his best. He plays very smart in that matchup. I don't know, that's actually a really tough one.
With Tasia Innovation playing first, that actually makes it really tough for me. I'm like,
Do not. Dan, you promised.
I think Innovation and Duck. I'll agree.
Innovation, Duck. All right, yeah. I'm gonna go Innovation Tasia on that one. Actually, I think
it is actually
Tasia like is such a beast at these lands, man. Like,
I was about to say, it is actually still summer. Tasia doesn't really lose in summer, apparently.
Yeah, he likes the warm months, so yeah, Innovation Tasia there. All right, and Group D, Idra.
What was that?
That's so God.
Maru first, Scarlet second. I feel like this is one of the easier ones. I know I said earlier, like about 5 minutes ago, that it was probably the closest group, but the more I think about it, the more I think it's going to be Maroon Scarlet.
Okay. Cats?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think Maru Scarlet too.
Okay. Xeno?
Alright, well, I'm a nonconformist, so I'll change my answer from Scarlet back to Jim, Maru Jim.
Alright, so everyone thinks Maru. I think Maru as well. You're probably not wrong. Ah, you curse! It's magic. But for second place, the thing is, I think that Scarlet will probably kill MMA, and then I feel like when Jim comes up out of the losers, Jim versus Scarlet's going to be tough. Like I think that's a tough one to call because I know what you're saying. He's like kind of wild, but has good mechanics and stuff, and that can be really hard and unforgiving to stop as a Zerg player in a simple best of 3. You know, like I could definitely see Jim knocking Scarlet out with just like hitting some sick timings or something. It's just like that's hard. I want to say Scarlet, but I could absolutely see Jim coming up through there.
Yeah, the thing that makes me kind of uncomfortable about MMA Scarlet is that they're teammates, and I know that Scarlet like really respects MMA, or at least used to a couple months ago.
Yeah.
She'd be like, yeah, like I like MMA's like so fucking good. So I don't know if that's gonna affect her play because she usually plays like by the book, and I'm sure MMA knows that book pretty well. So I don't know.
Points. This is the fact that we're all hemming and hawing so much on a lot of these matches means this is going to be a pretty sick tournament. So who do you guys think is going to win? Who's going to win? And if they don't win, who's going to win? So you're basically your two people. Like, who do you really think is going to win? And then if that doesn't come true, who wins?
Do we know how the brackets work? Like, is it A1
No.
versus? Okay.
No, you're calling winner anyways, not top 2 places. I'm not talking first and second, but like, because things don't always go right for you. Like, Innovation might just get knocked out by someone early, then who wins if he doesn't, that type of thing.
Innovation or Rain?
Innovation or Rain? Okay.
I think if Jadong makes it out of his group, he actually has a fair shot because the only Protoss that gets rid of a lot of Protosses for him.
Okay.
And they'll probably have him and Rain split up on opposite sides of the bracket if they both come out of that group. So I could actually see Jadong winning if he gets it out of his group. So he'll be my first pick for that. And then otherwise I'll say Innovation because that's safe and easy.
That is safe and easy. Xeno?
Well, I'm going to say that the reason why Innovation lost to Maru was definitely a result of the patch causing some volatility in TVT. Innovation definitely likes when the dust settled and when he can pretty much dominate based on his mechanics. So I'll definitely say Innovation. But I'll also take Polt after that because Polt is my favorite player. So, yep.
Okay. These are all smart things that people are saying. Everyone has to say Innovation, so I'll go ahead and say Innovation. I should have questioned it as if Innovation doesn't win, who wins? He is so good. But if he doesn't... See, I really liked what you said, Idra, about Jadong, but then again, TVZ can be pretty hard. Like, if Jadong hits, like, a Polt, or even a Bomb or a Tasia...
Polt did just 4-0. Polt did just 4-0.
So I can't go Jadong as a winner of this tournament. I could go with him as getting second place, because that's kind of what he does now. But, yeah, J. Kong, man. Poor guy. So difficult. Because I'm like, my eyes keep, my heart says Rain, and then my eyes keep jumping to like Polt and Tasia, because they like fly around the world playing these tournaments all the time, and they're badass Terrans, so they're like really solid. But like, I don't know, Maru is on a tear too. Alright, Innovation or Maru? Innovation, Maru. I'm gonna go with that. Screw it. I'm done doubting poor Maru. He's proven himself too many times.
I hope Rain wins, because in the finals,
awesome.
In the finals, when Rain was up 2-0, I was like, fuck it, and tweeted, is there anyone who thinks Maru has any chance? And I just went to bed. And then fucking Maru wins 4 in a row.
This is actually what
I feel personally robbed by that. Yeah. I think Rain should win.
I hope so. I would not mind. Okay, so I think we've done WCS season finals. I want to at least hit on this last topic before turning the show off, though. Pros retiring. Our next thing we want to talk about, because of course we all know Stefano retired. He planned it a long time ago. It wasn't because of lack of success or something like that. He just wants to do something new, so that's not as much. But like, for instance, Thorzane is reprioritizing his life. He's going to school again. He's still going to play. But it's not a retirement, but it's like, okay, this guy's like dumbing down what he's doing with StarCraft a little bit. It's not everything. Feast is basically retiring. Xenocider, you were saying there were quite a few of the M-Pro type level players retiring as well?
Alright, so let me just go off the top of my head the Terra players that have retired in the North American scene. Maker, Illusion, Coma.
Illusion's not retired.
Oh, Illusion has not been playing that much recently, but
He just plays League now.
yeah, he plays a lot of League recently. That's what he said. He said, or for Red Bull, he had not been played for a month.
Yeah,
before.
I talked to him at Red Bull. He had not been playing, but like he took a small break. Like I'm pretty sure he'll start playing soon again.
Okay, well, I'm not sure about him, but and Theognis, I think.
Yeah.
So I
The Argus being the big one.
two Terrans that are like left are, or the three I guess, are me, Neeb, and QXE. I can't actually think of any other Terrans in North America right now.
Drunken
Massa?
Boy.
Oh, and yeah, Mesa. But also,
Drunken Boy.
he had played a lot of League as well. So
I don't think Drunken Boy plays anymore, does he? I haven't seen him.
Oh, the Hellbat nerf. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the big name pros are actually a thing if you just look at them specifically. Like Stefano has always said, I'm going to retire in a month. And it just so happened that he doesn't really like HOTS and his contract came to an end. And so that was the fitting time. And then with Thorzane, like we heard back when he joined EG bought him out of school basically. They just gave him a contract so big that he couldn't say no to it. So he went with that for a while. So he's also been looking to move on with his life. So them, I don't think they're a sign of anything, but the lower level, the WCS America Challenger League kind of players retiring, I think that's pretty indicative of a bit more of a problem. WCS, whatever it has been successful in, it has not been successful at all in promoting the growth of mainly the American scene, but also to a lesser extent the European scene, because I mean, the Koreans win it, and just sticking around in Challenger League, maybe making it to Premier League once or twice, every once in a while, that doesn't provide a living for you. Team sponsorships are not gigantic if you're not EG. That's not really enough to live off on its own. And I think the biggest thing for the lower level players is that WCS content is on constantly. You wake up on American times, you wake up, WCS EU is on, you have maybe a 2-hour break, then WCS America's on, and the Premier League finals happen, you have like a day off, and then the Challenger League broadcasting starts up on the same schedule. There's no time where you're not competing with a big production for viewership. And most of the money for those lower level players who aren't like tournament winning caliber came from streaming revenue. And then on top of that, no tournaments are really like competing for WCS for quality. Like some of them still happen. MLG still has a tournament every once in a while, or at least it did. Actually, I guess in America there's not really too much left anymore. But in Europe, you still have the IEMs and the DreamHacks and the Acises. But that's like 10,000 for first place once every 3 or 4 months. And first place is still taken by a Korean. So there's not too much prize money anyway. And because WCS is significantly limiting that as well. No one's going to try and be the big dogs when WCS is in control of everything. So really, I think WCS is limiting it quite a bit. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these lower level foreign pros drop out.
Running a foreign team, Cats, you must have some pretty strong opinions on this.
Oh yeah, I mean I brought him up when the system was brought up. I think it was on State of the Game or maybe in here. But yeah, I mean I think that just not region locking is gonna continue to do that, and MLG backing from the scene is like makes things even worse. There's rumors about Red Bull trying to take that over, and that would be fantastic if that happened. But just in general, like, yeah, I mean, we have a team house here and stuff, but like viewership in general is like Greg said, you're always competing with something much bigger. So that's not a source of revenue. And if there's like if no one's gonna be trying to like Shoutcraft did that really well. When Shoutcraft America was announced, like the NA ladder was actually useful, and you could actually play with players all the time. And people were actually trying to improve, and that's the kind of thing that we need, I think, in order for North American players to stay motivated and kind of have a reason to stick around. But yeah, in terms of like Thor saying Stefano retiring, Feast, Steven, like there's just such a deep pool of players that's going to happen no matter what. I mean, like you can probably name 300 professional players, so one retiring shouldn't, it's just variance. But yeah, as far as the lesser known players goes, if the scenes don't develop, then that's going to continue to happen.
All right. Xenocider, what do you think is still an up and coming Terran in America?
Okay, so basically the problem that I have with WCS NA right now, I'm not going to speak for WCS EU, I'm just going to speak for WCS NA. So basically, the WCS system, or at least what I read from the Reddit Q&A, is that they want the very best players to be at the WCS Grand Slam or whatever. They want like the best competition there, right? So I don't understand what the point of a WCS America is. Basically what's happening right now is there's 6 Code S players coming from Korea, and then there's 6 Code A players coming from WCS America. WCS America does not promote growth in the US, but it also doesn't allow better players to come to the WCS Grand Slam, right? Because basically what we're going to have is we're going to have a live have double the amount of WCS points that Flash does. And I mean, I love Alive. I mean, he's a teammate, but like he is not even close to where Flash is right now. So that's what I don't understand. But also, I mean, even if we look at the WCS America qualifier brackets, like Select, probably one of the main names to come out that's basically a North American, but is actually Korean. But I actually want to go over his bracket. He beat Boom Boom, which was really good, because Americans beating Koreans is always good. But if we compare his bracket to Hendral's bracket, who is in the same qualifier on the other side, Hendral's had to beat Golden, Tassadar, Hart, Lucky, and Select just had to beat Boom Boom in terms of Koreans. And Hendral's actually did beat Golden and lost 1-2 to Tassadar. Like, it's not like that there's just like one Korean. The WCS America qualifiers are literally filled with hundreds of Koreans. Like, I played NSH Sasani in like the first round, and then I beat him, but then I lost to another Korean in the later rounds. Like, there's just a multitude of them. It makes it really sad to play in the NA scene, and the fact that a lot of tournaments are dying out, NASL, IPL, and MLG recently. But since Red Bull's coming back, that's nice. But I don't know. When I talked to Theo, he basically just talked about the opportunities in NA like are just not good enough. I mean, they don't like warrant the time that you would need to compete in these tournaments.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually pretty sad. I think most of us didn't even try to play in the WCS qualifier, just because it's kind of a waste of time. It's like we're not good enough. Let's go play ladder instead and get good and practice.
Yeah. That's fair enough. What about like the Ghost user approach? I thought that was really smart of him. He went over to Europe where there's like a thriving scene without as many Koreans, and he's starting to make a real name for himself. He's starting to get some really top finishes. He's getting pretty good practice, you know. What about that type of approach for NA pros? I know it's not an option for everyone, but what do you think?
I would move to Europe. Like, that's where all the tournaments are right now, so I think that's why he moved there, right?
Well,
In combination of joining.
Yeah, he joined a European team, but he's actually going to come to North America soon, back to NA, as far as I know.
I find that surprising. Is he going to continue to compete in North America? Does he?
Yeah.
Like that seems really weird. It seems like Europe would be the place to be for sure. There's more tournaments. There's easier competition, a better ladder to work on. Yeah, I would definitely say that moving to Europe is a better option if you're a lower level pro who has the ability to and wants to continue to compete. But the problem is, even then, like, how much is Ghost User making? Like, is he actually supporting himself if he didn't have the team house? Because he had the top 4 finish at DreamHack, and maybe he cashed at Asus. I think top 8 paid, but not a ton. He doesn't stream because he's too busy practicing, trying to get good. So, like, in the end, it's still not practical for him. He just happened to get this opportunity, and he's making the most of it for a while. But long term, it just doesn't really feel too viable anymore.
Sure. so about the retirings and things, do you think that is there any way to fix all because eventually someone's going to come in and fill the gaps in America. There's going to be StarCraft lands there again. People don't even worry about that. It's going to occur because there is a lot of demand for it. It's just at this moment we don't have it because some organizations decided not to anymore, and that's fine. But I think the bigger picture is like, because we talked about it before and we debated it before, and now we have a lot of information in. Is there any way to remedy this situation for these lower level NA pros other than region locking the North American WCS? Is there any other way?
I mean, that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. The thing is, even if the other leagues were to come back, like say NASL started over and it was just North American, right? That would be great. But then, like that's kind of like what you do in between while waiting on your chance to do well at WCS. Like WCS is always or should always be like your justification, you know, like what you're working towards.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like a tournament could come in and fill the gaps, but you're just gonna be like kind of aiming at first or being doomed still.
Oh.
So I don't know. It's weird.
I would say that region locking is the ideal. I think that should have happened from in the first place, but I don't know how. I don't know if that's going to happen. They seem pretty opposed to it. There's been no mention of it thus far. I think the other option would be kind of an off season where you have some time where there's actually not the WCS to compete against in terms of streaming. You have some time to just sit back and practice. You can go to Korea for a couple of months and do kind of a boot camp related thing. I've always been kind of skeptical about the effectiveness of short terms in Korea, but it does help some people. It might be worthwhile. It's better than just sitting on the NA ladder playing. So yeah, I guess an off season would be a step in the right direction. And then of course, just ideal world, we have more tournaments, more smaller tournaments, so there's more opportunities to make money, more opportunities to compete. Because obviously, Pult and the big dogs in North America aren't going to play in every little thing, so that's more opportunities for income for smaller players. But that money has to come from somewhere.
That's good. Xeno, your thoughts?
You know what's actually funny is that Pult actually plays in every single Zotac NA Cup, and either Pult or Hyun wins all of them. Yeah.
How can he do that and do school at the same time and compete in WCS and practice?
He's on break right now. I think he's about to go to school like soon.
Okay.
So.
So Pult's reign of terror is almost done until the next vacation.
Well, I mean, I definitely think Pult is a type of person that will really focus on one thing and then do it really well. Like he said it himself, like it's almost impossible to manage school and playing on a Korean level at the same time. I'm sorry, you can continue.
No, I was just gonna say he did look pretty bad that one DreamHack where he was open about focusing more on school, so I could believe that.
One idea I was thinking of is like having a Shoutcraft America, except instead of having the Shoutcraft America being limited to just Americans, you could open up to Koreans, and then like have a game requirement or something, so you basically force Koreans to play on NA. Because personally, for me, right now, it's impossible to play on Korea server. I have like 300 something plus ping coming from the East Coast, so even if I wanted to practice there, I can't. So maybe promoting some growth on the NA ladder would be another solution, but definitely region locking would be the best for WCS, because WCS is like the most important part if you want to be like a successful gamer.
Okay.
The Shoutcraft with ladder requirements is actually kind of interesting idea. I hadn't thought of that before.
Well, that's something that Blizzard's started to work in this season, that you had to be at least Masters or something to sign up, which is like, well, that takes, that shows a little bit of out of touchness, where it's like, do you know how quickly, what is it, like 22 games or something to get there from zero, from no MMR to Masters on NA for a Korean?
Yeah.
It varies a little bit, but that sounds doable.
Like this takes an afternoon, so this is not actually like maybe if it's like top 15 GM, it's like, okay, now you actually have to play a few games, and even that probably won't take a Korean pro very long to do. All right, well, do we have any closing thoughts on the subjects of some pros retiring and whatnot and all that kind of sad stuff?
I think we covered it pretty well.
I think so too. I mean, team leagues like SC2L do help a lot too. Even though
That's true.
like it's foreign teams that are still packed with Koreans, but you know,
But,
at least
yeah.
at least you kind of know them.
Decent amount of foreigners in there. Yeah, well, you know, I'm not opposed to. You know, a lot of Koreans have become part of the foreigner scene, like Poles.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like
Yeah,
Hyun and you know a lot of these guys. But
yeah,
but actually, that goes back to the fact that you know WCS is on so much that it's so hard to broadcast. Like that's a problem with SC2L, like finding times for us to actually broadcast that because you know it's competing against so much. Like how do we raise this awareness that this is actually really good for foreign teams, that type of thing. It's pretty rough, you know.
yeah.
All right, well, I think that's pretty good for the show. It's been a very fun show today, guys. So let's go ahead and do some shout-outs and everything. Why don't we start with you, Xenocider?
Oh boy. Okay, so first I'd like to say you can please follow me on twitter.com/EGXenoRC. I'm about to wake up for school at 5 a.m., but I decided to come on because you either have to drop sweat today or tears tomorrow. So didn't want to waste an opportunity. And also, of course, thanks to my team sponsors: Monster Energy, King Cyber X, Razer, Astro, XMG, Zam, IAM, Jinx, Beyond Gaming, and Need for Speed.
Sick. I really like having you on the show, Xenocider. This was a lot of fun. Cats, your shout-outs.
Please check out root-gaming.com. Follow me on Twitter at ROOTCatz. Check out my stream. I've been streaming a lot more. I've been playing a lot better as well, except for the last few days. And thank you. Yeah, I just kind of, yeah, I'm like good at CVZ. But yeah, thank you to our sponsors, Twitch TV, Das Keyword, and our new sponsor, TT Esports. They make pretty sick stuff, so go check them out as well. And yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah, Simon's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Can't quite match up to the Juan's lips last week, but still pretty good.
Yeah.
That was the best thing I've ever seen. For my shoutouts, Twitter at Idra. Let's see what else. Facebook/Idrajit, and then my stream Twitch.tv/Idrajit as well. Stream pretty much every day in the morning around the end of WCS EU, bridging the gap until WCS America. Thank you all for watching.
And for me, guys, thanks much for watching yet another episode of Meta. Big cheers to Simpatico. He's at Simpatico TV is his Twitter. He's does all the production stuff. Couldn't do it without him. Of course, these 3 wonderful guests. And big cheers to TT Esports, my sponsors, as well as iBuyPower. Both awesome. I'm streaming a whole bunch, especially this week, because next week I'm going to WCS Season Finals and commentate, so make sure you check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Because I think I'm going kind of early in the week. I don't think there'll be a meta next week, but you know, that's what happens when I travel. I'm sorry. So thanks much for watching, and we'll see you later.